Recording is in progress.
Thank you so much, Andrew. So we are starting the IGU Summit. It is week 52. That means we are 1 year celebration today. As always, I start with the land acknowledgement. So I say we begin today by acknowledging that we walk upon the traditional territories of Indigenous peoples, and we recognize their history, spirituality, culture, and stewardship of the land. We're grateful to all Indigenous groups for their commitment to protect the land and its resources, and we're committed to reconciliation, partnership, and enhanced understanding. We acknowledge the land we're meeting on here in the Greater Toronto Area as the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Wendat, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe peoples, and is now home to many diverse peoples. We'd also like to acknowledge the land we're on here is at the meeting place of two treaties, the lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit and those of the First Nations of the Williams Treaty. We thank them and other Indigenous peoples for sharing this land with us. We also acknowledge and recognize all of the world's Indigenous peoples as stewards of Mother Earth. Also, before I begin the session today, I will note the events that are coming up. So yesterday, if people didn't see the messages, was Global Day of Parents, Wednesday, June 1st. And so the Global Day of Parents provides an opportunity to appreciate all parents in all parts of the world for their selfless commitment to children and their lifelong sacrifice towards nurturing its relationship. This observance recognizes parents as vital in providing protection and positive development for their children. Again, in the link in the chat, there's more of that information I sent. So again, coming up, World Food Safety Day is June 7th. This is something the World Health Organization recognizes. Food safety is a shared responsibility between governments, producers, and consumers. Everybody has a role to play from farm to table to ensure the food we consume is safe and will not cause damages to our health. Through the World Food Safety Day, World Health Organization, WHO, pursues its efforts to mainstream food security, safety in the public agenda. Again, that is a link to World Food Safety Day. The following day, Wednesday, June 8th, is World Oceans Day, where World Oceans Day is an international day that takes place annually on June 8th. The concept was originally proposed in 1992 by Canada's International Centre for Ocean Development and the Ocean Institute of Canada at the Earth Summit, the UN Conference on Environment and Development in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. So again, there is information in the chat. And of course, we can't forget the 2022 Ad Hoc International Advisory Board UnityNet Abraham Project Tree Planting, which is our globally coordinated event, takes place on Sunday, June 5th. So this coming Sunday, starting whatever time or hour the local residents choose. The Eventbrite page, which I'm going to share, says 12 p.m. noon, but that is a suggested time for our own event. So also coming up is our third Key Diplomacy Initiative event. This isn't yet published on Eventbrite, but I'm almost ready to do that. This will take place on Saturday, June 18th, starting at 8 a.m. We do it on June 18th because that is Sustainable Gastronomy Day. So I will share that information as well in the chat, where Sustainable Gastronomy Day emphasizes the need to focus the world's attention on the role that sustainable gastronomy can play, reaffirms that all cultures and civilizations are contributors and crucial enablers of sustainable development. The UN General Assembly adopted this in December 2016. So we're looking to add more partners to this page. If you want to feature your NGO or humanitarian enterprise, or if you happen to work for a UN Global Compact member organization, feel free to contact me. I can add your logo, your website, a description to the next Key Diplomacy see Eventbrite page. I want to see, for example, or I want everybody to see the example of the recent tea diplomacy event we did on Saturday, May 21st, which was actually International Tea Day and the World Day for Cultural Diversity and for Dialogue and Development. Again, in the chat is the link to our most recent event. International Tea Day is actually observed every May 21st, according to the UN. It concerns a resolution adopted in December 2019 that calls on the UN FAO to lead the observance for that day. And then again, the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development is an occasion to promote cultural and highlight the significance of its diversity as an agent for inclusion and positive change, representing an opportunity to celebrate culture's manifold forms and the tangible, from the tangible to the intangible, to creative industries, to the diversity of cultural expressions, and to reflect on how these contribute to dialogue, mutual understanding, and the social, environmental, and economic vectors of sustainable development. Again, in the chat is a link. So upcoming as well, of course, is our UnityNet International Tea Diplomacy Initiative, Saturday, June 18th, starting at 8 a.m. I will share as well the link as it will be once it's published. So I will share my screen right now. Hold on. I don't have sharing privileges at this time. Could I be getting that privilege?
There you go, Lloyd.
Yep, thank you. Share, okay. Okay, so as always, I do start the presentation by giving recognition to our supporters and sponsors, in particular Andrew Networks. We call the door opening network of the Global Unity Network, or UnityNet, during these Thursday Zoom calls, which we are committed to take place through December 2023. So Andrew Networks also rebroadcasting production ready episodes on the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board.org domain, redirected to UCIT-TV. You'll also notice our logo indicates this is the 21 to 23 IGU Summit. We do plan to continue delivering these Thursday events until the end of 2023. That is in alignment with the UN Global Compact 2021 to 23 vision and strategy. So again, in the chat, you'll find information to those resources. You'll also see logos on this page for Maui Loa Project, 5 Points Youth Foundation, the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Future Lift Foundation, Global Peace Let's Talk, the American International Education Federation, the Ed Food Foundation, the Conservancy Trust, the Saga Foundation, the LA Global Foundation, as well as our own logos for the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation, the Greater Unity Network, the Indigenous Unity Flag, the Unity 4K Clubs, the Heptra Matrix Partnership template of our UnityNet International, and many more interesting logos that I should be mentioning them every time, but I need to be able to put that clearly in my opening remarks, although I don't necessarily want to increase the time spent either. So Andrew Networks that donates our hosting and promotional support services. They're a brand and domain name owned by Parks TC Export Trading Company, comprising the various social media channels, TRN TV, Universal Citizens Media Networks, Conversations with Andrew Williams Jr., and many more. Andrew Networks is our primary sponsor, supporting with the promotional ecosystem for the UnityNet initiative, this Indigenous Global Unity Summit, which continues through December 2023. So Andrew is our yes partner. He's helping to open doors so our members are able to discover their inner selves and passions, So Andrew Networks is working with the people who occupy the various nodes of our global Unity network, so we can come together with the people in the network, acting like a net to support the dreams of our members, so they can leverage those passions, transform their visions of a better future for themselves and their communities into a reality that makes sense for themselves and their communities, however they might define what that better future is collectively, as they seek to work together in partnership and leave no one behind. So Andrew Networks information is in the chat. So Andrew did found the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, Advocates, and Activists in September 2019. We have a focus on localizing the Sustainable Development Goals during this decade of action and delivery on the SDGs 2020 to 2030. Andrew appointed me as representative for Canada, La Francophonie, the Commonwealth of Nations in January 2020. I was later appointed as a representative for Turtle Island in early 2021. The big Ad Hoc Ambassadors link is in the chat. So I will get to myself. So my name is Lloyd Halferty, the Chief Ecosystem Director, Program Development Director, and Sustainable Society Consultant for Energem University, headquartered in Manhattan. I am located in the city of Markham in the Don River watershed. I call it the German, or it's called the German Mills Creek sub-watershed. Drains into Lake Ontario, the last Great Lake in North America, in the Greater Toronto area, Southern Ontario in North America, what we call Turtle Island. Energem University is a 501(c)(3) nonprofit company in New York, a member of the UN Global Compact, UN academic impact member and partner. It's a virtual university created to help empower global populations to reestablish a sustainable balance with their local environments. Energem does this by designing and implementing projects that support strong and diversified local economies while integrating core sustainable technologies and infrastructure into the communities in the areas of renewable energy, high-density food growth solutions, and systems for sustainably managing waste streams and protecting local water resources. So we are supported by over 375 companies whose products and technologies we employ, where Energem supports local education and training in the construction, deployment, and maintenance of all of those integrated solutions for achieving closed-loop systems that support self-sufficient, sustainable communities. Again, I put my own information in the chat at this time. So I am also the co-founder and administrator of the We Energem Global Cooperation Turtle Island International Civil Society organization that's seeking to undertake what we call life value peace education in the context of life learning gardens. So this is a key component of the network we are building as well. And so I mentioned I'm also designated as Goodwill Ambassador for the 5 Points Youth Foundation in Los Angeles, with that portfolio that covers Canada, La Francophonie, the Commonwealth of Nations, and Turtle Island communities. As a member of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors and Activists, we're seeking to empower our communities to engage with royal, indigenous, and tribal leadership, as well as helping local communities establish what we call interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives in all our communities. These collaborations come together to pledge support for all of the local humanitarian entrepreneurs who are localizing the global goals. So starting with the Sustainable Development Goals, where we are seeking to leave no one behind. Again, in the chat are links to this network. So I am the co-founder of the Global Unity Network, which we call UnityNet. It's just being established as by UnityNet International, which we say Uni, which was helped to create UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, and all the other global groups in Asia and the Americas and Europe. The Global Unity Business Group originally came together as a coalition of small businesses in order to establish, manage, and grow this global unity network we call UnityNet. So the results of this original Global Unity Business Group, which which I was describing as a humanitarian enterprise and global sustainable and regenerative development corporation, supporting and promoting the local delivery of open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure, set up as these life learning gardens, along with a hybrid virtual learning platform we call the VCN, or Interchange for Peace. It's actually being rebranded right now as UnityNet International. This is in alignment with our first continental chapter, UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, in the original Global Unity Business Group. That was created to formalize the ad hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of the global goals, starting of course with the SDGs, is being done by the establishment of this Global Unity Network, including the Unity Gardens and Unity Learning Networks, along with a number of other dedicated UnityNet nodes and chapters, all of them as important components of the what we call network of networks. The way I describe it now is as a network of people and organizations supporting the ad hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of global goals, the SDGs, right now, and the global transition to what I call now a compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So essentially, we're creating a global empowerment network of professionals in regenerative development to support all of our members, including what we call the female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs who are helping to implement the various local regenerative climate smart solutions that are required to achieve a compassionate global collaborative regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So it's important to note that the existing social media, the WhatsApp, the Facebook and LinkedIn groups that we're using are being used as placeholders as we build the global network, prepare to launch, where we'll eventually get all of the people, companies, and nodes of our network onto this Interchange for Peace in the VCN, where they'll be able to gain access to many tools and services that are available there, where we can much more easily collaborate in order to locally implement all of the globally coordinated events and projects and enterprises and infrastructure as well in each of our local communities. So again, in the chat are links to our social media. So the Global Unity Network, now called UnityNet, created to showcase global cooperation for the implementation of the local regenerative solutions for achieving the global goals, starting with, of course, those 17 sustainable development goals. So our goal is to help uplift the traditionally marginalized communities that are mostly being left behind because the existing economic paradigm, which is focused on making money for those who are already wealthy by extracting resources through the exploitation, usually over-exploitation of people in the natural world and the majority of people on Earth, mostly being ignored by existing highly competitive economy. So the focus of our network is on the billions of people who exist. They subsist on the economic sidelines often, where we are intending to start our work by helping local communities deliver this local regenerative and climate smart enterprise solutions that people and communities in some of the least developed countries, communities, and local economies require in order to thrive. As the entry point, we are focused in particular on communities that are the most food insecure. Again, in the chat are links to the Global Unity Network. So UnityNet, as we call it, is promoting the delivery of a suite of practical solutions to achieving the global goals, starting with the Sustainable Development Goals during this SDG period until 2030. We are focused on using the tools of what we call humanitarian entrepreneurship, focusing again on the female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs and enterprises, or what we call FFHE, along with this hybrid virtual and hands-on education and training and learning programs, the platforms and curricula, with the primary focus on delivery of the various humanitarian entrepreneurship skills training in these practical settings, in other words, practical learning. So we also leverage various open source regenerative climate smart infrastructure solutions to remotely assist these local INAP collaborative teams to establish the local collaborative open source Unity Garden classrooms in all the local communities around the world. So the Unity Garden classrooms are set up in collaboration with existing schools and local communities, but they can use be used for the local and remote and virtual delivery of the practical learning programs for all of our FFHE members, so they can learn how to grow, process, cook, market, sell, and trade the various types of regenerative climate smart food and related nutritional and medicinal and other types of locally produced regenerative products, both within their own local communities as well as regionally, nationally, continentally, or even internationally, in order to increase income and greater prosperity for themselves and for the people in their local communities. We want to do this for all people on all continents, with the intention, again, of leaving no one behind. I like to put it at the time a link to the UnityNet Smart Cities Network, because I am in the city of Markham, and we do want to focus not just on the rural, but also the urban. We also promote through our virtual social marketing all of the members of our network. So we use the various practical social media networking and trade tools, including those of the modern fourth industrial revolution. So we're combining the wisdom of gods with the deep indigenous knowledge of our ancestors and the living indigenous people of this earth in order to learn from each other about how to share the abundance of this planet in order to create productive, regenerative, climate smart landscapes wherever we may live, so in and around all of our local communities. So our intention is also to help restore nature and biodiversity and ensure abundance for all people. And ultimately, we want to restore the human connection to Mother Earth as proper stewards of our one and only beautiful planet. So the network that I like to put in the chat is the Unity Biodiversity Network. And so the Ad Hoc International Advisor Board process of localization of the global goals is really intended to help everyone in their local communities establish these local teams of humanitarian entrepreneurs, as well as the local community empowerment network we call the INAB collaboratives, that provides support and ensure the success of the local cooperative humanitarian enterprises who are building Unity Gardens. So the Unity Gardens are intended to be established in each local community across the global network, most likely starting in Africa, but also here in North America and in Asia as well. So the process of establishing the local INAB collaboratives is done by taking part in what we call the Abraham Project, where we plant the tree of peace and reconciliation, that we do ceremonies starting this coming Sunday, June 5th on World Environment Day, but continuing throughout the planting seasons locally wherever we are. So some communities will also establish twinned trees of peace and reconciliation, and that means twin Unity Gardens. The twinning, which we can also expand to trinning or quadrinning or more, will be done through what we call the CTP program, or Collaborative Tree Planting Program. It's a process of twinning the local community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprises, and also twinning the local community INAB collaboratives. So that what we're building here is a global network of local INAB collaboratives, where all of the members in each local community empowerment network is interconnected, watching over, talking to each other at the global level, where the local INAB collaboratives have a diverse set of members from the 7 different sectors of every community. So public, private, civil society, academic, interfaith, finance, and orange economy. Orange economy being the creative sector. They'll be watching, promoting, and helping each other support their local female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs in the local communities, and empowering them and all the members of the Global Unity Network, and where all of the activities are intended to be transparent. All of the members of the Global Network, including all of the members of the INAB collaboratives, will also be accountable to the success of the local collaborative Unity Garden humanitarian enterprises in each of their own local communities. This means that if the local female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs who are living in those local communities fail to be successful as they build and run the local collaborative or cooperative community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise, provided they're fully dedicated to making it successful for all the community members, especially for those who are the most marginalized in each of our local communities. It's not going to be entirely on their shoulders alone, of course, unless there's some thing like acts of God, but rather the failure could also be partly put on the shoulders of local community INAB collaborative members for not having lived up to their obligations to support and empower the local community humanitarian entrepreneurs who are building, operating, and maintaining, delivering all the various community programs, events, and interventions, along with the goods and services that are delivered in the context of their local community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise. So I've been suggesting as well that every community Unity Garden humanitarian enterprise should be established as a cooperative enterprise of business, where the idea is to set up the local community business as a co-op, so that the burden of running the business doesn't fall entirely on the shoulders of any single entrepreneur, although different business models can be tried in order to determine what models might actually work best. In the chat, I'm putting some additional information about cooperative enterprises. So I wanted to mention the INAB collaboratives being established at the local level, where we're leveraging our process of community engagement, which is done initially through the planting of trees, or the trees of peace and reconciliation, the ceremonies we have, the one coming up, followed by the community engagement that's ongoing through the regularly scheduled events throughout the year, including coordinated bubble fun festivals and sports, done in collaboration with the local INAB collaborative members, along with the CTP program for twinning the community activities, as community organized tree plantings and local regenerative community infrastructure development projects and events, the Tea Diplomacy Initiative, which I mentioned. These are virtual community conversations on topics like peace, regeneration, reconciliation, and forgiveness. The Dream Boards Initiative, done in collaboration with the C4 group members, along with identification of and engagement with local talent, the artists and creative people in the Orange economy, really for the purpose of promoting and showcasing their talent, but also as they promote the globalization of global goals as a compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind through their art, especially during any one of our periodic sunlight spectacle or other edutainment events throughout the year. So any other programs or activities that might be developed in the context of the climate smart kitchens or the forests or the gardens, delivered by our partners, along with the Wheel of Life Farms and Spark Learning Centers, or the Climate Smart Learning Centers, in the different configurations. So I did put this slide because for those who haven't seen it, the local INAB collaboratives are being expanded to try and include more critical partners, including the Bridges of Hope organization from Kenya, focused on training of FFHEs in the various regenerative and climate smart business and infrastructure solutions, possibly also BIMA International at the Black Emergency Managers Association, helping to bring together the first responders, the police, the firefighters, the paramedics in the local community, to help prepare the local entrepreneurs and enterprises, potentially position their businesses as hubs for taking action during emergencies or significant incidents that may happen in the community. I've also included a placeholder for a virtual cultural exchange office of UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, established for the purpose of mutually supporting each of us in our local communities, including, of course, the FFHE and the rest of the INAB collaboratives and their members, wherever it is that we live. So again, I'm putting a link to UnityNet GPA, which is the template for what we are creating. And so Tea Diplomacy Initiative is coming up as well. I had suggested we had a Tea Diplomacy Initiative event originally on the Week of Solidarity for people struggling against racism and racial discrimination that took place between March 21st and 27th. But we did have our event on Monday, March 21st, the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, which also happened to be World Poetry Day and the International Day of Forests. So this opened up that dialogue during that virtual Tea Diplomacy event to have conversations related to methods, process of eliminating, enabling and implementing solidarity with people struggling against racism and racial discrimination, and discussing as well the local poets and poetry that have influenced our local cultures in each respective community. So the event also had a discussion about the importance of establishing productive forests as biodiversity polyculture food forests established as Unity Forest, Unity Gardens in all of our local communities, managed in partnership with the local Indigenous peoples and all levels of government in every local community and country as an essential part of a process of practical reconciliation with all of the Indigenous peoples of the world, one country, one community, one watershed at a time. I want to play for you now the poem that was played during the first Tea Diplomacy event. It is about 2.5 minutes long. It was read by a poet named Jack Black God, who's from a squatter camp or VVC called Disloop, north of Johannesburg in South Africa. I'm going to put into the chat as well, so you can find information about the Tea Diplomacy event, along with World Poetry Day and the International Day of the Forests, and some of our sponsors who took part in that event, in particular the Global Peace Let's Talk and the Global Forum for Sustainable or Rural Development. So as I play this right now, I'm hoping that people will really listen to the lyrics.
We are people of our own color. 7 seas and 1 big ocean. It doesn't matter how big, small, dark, light, Christian or not you are. We all come from the same origins. Origins that when we trace footprints lead us to the central heart of Africa. Because Africa should unite and nothing will bite. Instead, we will forever have peaceful nights. Africa uniting wouldn't be bad, instead it will never hurt. Trees! Allow me to be your garden at least, so that I could plant these poetical seed into your cultivative mind with harvestic thoughts of negativities. We are still enslaved by our own memories. Right now my broken, beaten bone skeleton wants to escape his flesh. My soul is rejecting this terrible hospitality You see, we were never told about the secret ingredients they used to cook this system. This system was cooked with a foresight traditional pot, but we were never invited into the inns of financial taste. All you did, black child, was to feast on that racism that was served to you on a silver platter, so that mahinya, 7 colors, the shininess of it could blindfold you. Your I have fought has made deals for dessert. But what about the main meal, black child? We are still enslaved by our own memories. See, once upon a time there was I reciting poems with meaningless senses and unengineered sentence language construction. Therapy of my words wounded so many innocent souls, I'm lost in translation. Tongue clicks, Ubuntu transplant, guilty to innocent endless transformations. I'm so confused in my lost thoughts. Perhaps I'm losing it, isn't it? Yes, I've been here and they've all been there, distant relatives. 300 Spartans, the rise of my ancestors to you, godly amen. The last breathless word you would inhale. We are still enslaved by our own memories, yet we are 7 seas and 1 big ocean.
Always a very moving poem, that one. We have now completed our first virtual Tea Diplomacy Initiative event. So that was Monday, March 21st. So during that Tea Diplomacy event, we did ask leaders and other high-level decision makers to sit down virtually and have a cup of tea and with some of our UnityNet members at the grassroots who are living and doing work in the various marginalized communities around the world. The conversations that we asked our participants to discuss during those moderated virtual casual conversations between the sustainable development decision makers and the professionals and our grassroots members who are doing some of this on the ground work in the various local communities of the Global Unity Network were related to those 3 themes I mentioned and are shown on the previous slide. So the event was co-hosted by the Global Unity Network, UnityNet International, which is building our network on behalf of the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board of Goodwill Ambassadors, along with the Global Forum for Sustainable Rural Development, Global Peace Let's Talk, and of course, the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board. At this point, I do also want to play the music of Luvia M, a song called Tulan Visio. As this is playing, I will also put the translated lyrics of the song into the chat. We'll put that right now. The song is about 4.5 minutes long. It is our new theme song for the Tea Diplomacy Initiative. We will play it as well as the poem you just heard at every Tea Diplomacy event. So we had quite a successful tea diplomacy initiative, especially during the first event was very good, but the second event was even better. The people that were involved in that were partnering in that event, Andrew Networks, the World Humanitarian Organization for Peace and Equity, or WOPE, Saga Foundation, Gemma Productions, UnityNet Global Cooperation Turtle Island, Drawdown Markham, the Climate Change Solutions Education and Training Hub here in Canada, the Indigenous Global Unity Network, Carbon Shot Earth Sustainable Marketplace for Climate Solutions, the Unity Women and Feminists Network, Tots and Kids South Africa, Jafoa Uganda, the National Federation of Women Farmers and Appropriate Technology in Asia, located in Nepal, at the TriLife Foundation in Malawi, the Soweto CSI Council in South Africa, Gemma Skaters and Youth Development Program, Village Synergy in Uganda, and the Global Unity Business Group Humanitarian Enterprise and Global Sustainable Development Corporation, which is now called UnityNet International. Together with the organizations that support and promote this IGU Summit event, including, of course, the 5 Points Youth Foundation, the Ed Food Foundation, FutureLit Foundation, and Cycle of Success. So again, in the chat, I will put some links to many of these partners so you can find out more about who they are. So these are all important partners of this global unity network that we are building, as we call it, UnityNet, now as we roll forward. And we are developing the network now, but we are as well preparing ourselves to launch fairly soon. So I want to mention that we're also planning to do one more tea diplomacy event this year. The second was of course, May 21st, International Tea Day. But we are moving toward the third tea diplomacy event, which will be on Saturday, June 18th, the Sustainable Gastronomy Day, where we also plan to partner with the Plant-Based Climate Smart Food Network and the South Markham Food Security Network, along with the Virtual Urban Food and Farming Network, we call the Urban Farming Network. So the chat will include some links, especially to the International Tea Day, along with a description. And during our first event, we did have the partnership, with UnityNet Culture and Diversity. And as our second event comes up, you'll see in the chat some information about Sustainable Gastronomy Day, along with information about that virtual urban food and farming network, along with information about the World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development, which was the theme for our recent diplomacy initiative event. So the second tea diplomacy event, which came past just recently, we are now looking for the third. We want more partnerships also. So if you want to promote your local civil society organization, NGO, or humanitarian enterprise, again, feel free to contact me so that the Global Unity Network, UnityNet, can also promote the work that you're doing to globalize the global goals in your local community. Again, the second ad hoc International UnityNet Tea Diplomacy Initiative event is in the chat. I wanted to mention again the collaborative events that we'd like to do in 2022 related to the activities of the Global Unity 4K Clubs Network and the Unity Gardens Network, as well as the Unity Eco Village Network and Biodiversity Network. These globally coordinated Abraham project that is coming up this weekend, the Tree of Peace and Reconciliation Showcase Project for Global Cooperation, delivered in multiple local communities by the members of the UnityNet on World Environment Day, which is this Sunday, June 5th, in only 3 days from now. This allowed us to begin establishing a global network of local INAB collaboratives, these interfaith neighborhood academic and business collaboratives that lead the way at the local level everywhere in the world to undertaking the globally coordinated events that we plan to do for the rest of the year. So again, links to especially our first continental network, UnityNet Africa and Diaspora. There's an open forum discussion group. The network started with Sierra Leone, but it's also based with their headquarters right now in Uganda. So the second event that we will do following this is a Bubble Fun Festival event. We call it a globally coordinated community Bubble Fun Festival, designed to allow youth and families to have fun while they learn about the properties of bubbles, how to use bubbles, potentially allow humanity to adapt, perhaps even to thrive in a warming and changing climate, especially in those areas of the world where the impacts of global warming and climate change will be felt the most severely, including here in Canada, especially in the north, in mountainous areas, as well as places like sub-Saharan Africa and South and Southeast Asia. So some dates for that globally coordinated community Bubble Fun Festival could be anywhere between August 9th, which is International Day for the world's Indigenous peoples. It's also the International Day of Solidarity with the struggle of women in South Africa and Namibia, which is also called National Women's Day in those countries, along with August 12th, International Youth Day, and August 19th, World Humanitarian Day. So potentially we could open up to have a local Bubble Fun Festivals on any date between August 9th and 19th, which is really an 11-day window. So again, I put in some links to those various observances that I mentioned. Third event that we have, which will take place from Global Cooperation Day, October 4th, through to World Food Day, October 16th, includes the third Ubuntu Summit virtual event on October 4th. We did it last year, so this day is the feast day of St. Francis of Assisi, also called the Blessing of Animals Day, which are both celebrated by the Catholic faith communities. So the Ubuntu Summit that was held last year, I'm putting a link into the chat so you can learn more about what that is. So the fourth event is a global coordinated climate smart youth forum, which is designed to allow youth and families from around the world to learn about, discuss the various regenerative climate smart agriculture and food growing solutions that support achieving SDG 2, which is zero hunger, and local circular regenerative economies that leave no one behind. Along with learning more about the Climate Smart Food Program, all the various components of the ad hoc International Advisory Board process of localization of global goals, and the smart virtual infrastructure, those Unity Gardens and the interchange of peace that will allow local community INAB collaboratives to gain access to all of the learning programs, the information, the education, the training, the support programs, and even including financial support systems that we've been promoting through the Global Unity Network that will allow our local community members and the families to implement these local regenerative climate smart humanitarian infrastructure and enterprise solutions in the context of their own neighborhoods and communities, wherever they might live in the world. So the primary host for the Global Climate Smart Youth Forum Week is intended to be Yali International in Nigeria, working in partnership with UnityNet Nigeria, along with UnityNet Africa and Diaspora, and many of the rest of the members of the Global Unity Network, working with as many partners as possible who can decide to contribute to those events. So Yali International is divided into two arms, Yali, YE, Youth Education, and LI, Leadership Initiative. So the Youth Education Leadership Initiative, managed by Dr. Amadou Mande from UnityNet Nigeria. We'll put more links for the Climate Smart Youth Program Climate Smart Food Program, as well as the UnityNet Children and Youth International Network and the Unity Gardens Network Public Group. So the final event, optional this year, we're still in the process of establishing the INAP collaboratives, the local teams, the globally coordinated community tree planting event that's coming up on Sunday is intended to establish this. But once those INAP collaboratives are established, we can look at taking those teams to establish the 3D polyculture food forests in our local communities around the world, done in all the local communities wherever UnityNet INAP collaboratives have been established, where the members of the local community partnerships wish to actually establish this type of unity forest, unity garden, designed for delivering the various global unity learning programs. So Tukitani EV women empowerment programs are one of them, along with the Global Unity 4K Club humanitarian entrepreneurship learning programs for educating young people especially, but along with their families and other community members about the ways of achieving food and nutrition security at the local level for achieving Zero Hunger SDG 2. While also implementing many of the other global goals like climate action, SDG 13, biodiversity action, which is SDG 15, life on land, gender equality action, SDG 5, clean water action, SDG 6, clean energy action, SDG 7, peace actions, SDG 16, and no poverty actions, SDG 1, through their local community enterprises that actually aim also to leave no one behind. Where the globally coordinated community unity garden and unity forest tree planting events could potentially be done during the proposed Climate Smart Youth Forum Week, which will also include a hybrid in-person and virtual conference event. So I'm putting into the chat some links to the Unity 4K Club's PQP program and especially UnityNet Nigeria, which we plan to host the event. So I wanted to note as well the Unity Gardens of UnityNet encourage co-learning, what we call intercultural collaboration, or two-eyed seeing. So the Unity Gardens are places where children are taught that no one being is greater than the next, that we're part and parcel of the whole, that we are equal, that each one of us has a responsibility to the balance of the system and understanding the world's species, including all of our bio and eco kin, have contributions to make. And I will put into the chat some information about this concept of two-eyed seeing, or eco-optimum guiding principle for intercultural collaboration at the websites that are in the chat. I want to mention as well our honey project of UnityNet International, which is a proposal for the Rusley Poverty Alleviation Pilot Projects managed by the Rusley Institute in collaboration with Global Unity Network and the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board. So the Unity Honey Project designed to demonstrate the production of certified climate smart honey produced from wildflowers that are grown on restored landscapes, such as former mine sites or other industrial or currently degraded lands, in order to produce abundance and revenue from what was once wasteland. So the Unity Honey Project is really a bee honey harvesting project intended to support our Science for Peace Community Sustainability, or CSF program, the food certification system, and demonstration of PAGI payments paid to producers of certified products that are produced by female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs, especially as well in support of and in partnership with the local Indigenous communities. And so the Unity Honey Project is designed as something that could potentially be universally applied in a number of different jurisdictions, no matter what country or continent or local community they are in. The project ties to our Abraham project, of course, the process of planting the trees of peace and integration, or trees of peace and reconciliation, and integrating into the CTP program for twinning and threatening local communities, and the Ad Hoc International Advisory Board process of localization, starting with the planting of the trees of peace and reconciliation, undertaking the local community ceremonies that help to bring together and create the 7 local partners that are part of the local INAP collaboratives in each local community. dedicated to empowering the local female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs and work closely together with the local INAP collaboratives. So I'm going to put in some information about the Unity Honey program, WhatsApp, and other links. One thing I do like to play during this event before we sign off and invite our guest speakers to join us is a message for our education system from a gentleman by the name of Radhanath Swami. I want to play this video. It's about 5 minutes long. Contains many important messages about things like compassion and kindness and integrity, inner beauty and happiness, character and values, leadership and success, love and hope, and an understanding of the true meaning of success. So I will play that in a second.
What is happening to our system of education? It is said 50 years ago, some of the major problems in schools included sticking chewing gum under tables, talking in class, and missing deadlines. Today, our schools face gun and knife crime, bullying, and dangerous levels of stress, drug abuse, depression, and suicide. To effectively address the serious challenges that our children face, we need to consider not only the problems with individual students, but the very system of education that they are subjected to. Academic intelligence may make a child successful in the world, but compassion will make them useful. When we teach values alongside academics, we will find that children will be much happier, more successful, and will develop into great leaders that will change the future of our world. The word education is derived from the Latin word educare, which means to lead out or to bring out from within. Education is actually about bringing out the unique individual potential of every child, teaching them how to approach the hurdles, shortcomings, and setbacks of life, while empowering them to be vehicles of love and hope for the world. It is said, if you lose your wealth, you lose nothing. If you lose your health, you lose something. But if you lose your character, you lose everything. Without stressing these truths, the opposite will be understood by default. That is, if you lose your character, you lose nothing. If you lose your health, you lose something. If you lose your wealth, you lose everything. It should be a top priority of our education system to ensure that our children get this right. Imagine an education system where children are taught that the only time we should look down on someone is if we can help them up. Imagine a system where children are taught to judge beauty by what is within people's heart, not by their physical appearance. Imagine a system where character is given as much importance as competence, where children are taught that helping 1 billion people is even more valuable than being a billionaire, where as well as learning to raise their standard of living, they are also taught to increase their standard of giving, where children are taught to measure their success by how happy and fulfilled they are, and not how many letters they have after their names. An education system where developing intelligence goes hand in hand with developing compassion. Imagine if, as well as learning the history of our world, they are given the skills to change the future of it. Imagine if, as well as learning to navigate the world, they learn how to navigate their own minds. This is not an imagination. It is possible if we genuinely begin to value kindness over competence, character over success, and integrity above money. And in this way, change the system in which our children grow and learn.
So Lloyd,
Thank you, Ray. There are a few more slides that I have added, Andrew.
Do you have your guests here? You're into an hour of your presentation.
Yes, so this will go fairly quickly.
Okay, ball's in your court.
Yep. So I wanted to mention that the Global Unity Network is an empowerment network. So we are globally connected through the Community Empowerment Network of local networks. Uni and UNAD are here to help all our members. We want the local cooperative humanitarian enterprises to thrive. This means the Unity Gardens that our female and feminist humanitarian entrepreneurs will secure and develop should be supported by all of the members and organizations who are part of the local INAB collaboratives. We want people to get to the table, show up to the meetings where decisions are being made. So this is what UnityNet is about. It's being created so we have representation at every one of the meetings where decisions are being made, especially every time that there is a discussion about funding. We'll be recognized for our participation. So Prophet Cox and Andrew say, if you are not at the table, you're on the menu. So we need to also get the marginalized, trained, and empowered to go with you. This means youth, elders, rural, homeless, refugees. So they should be sitting and sharing their voice using the language of holistic collaborative regenerative development, localized to empower the people in their own local communities, especially on behalf of others who have been marginalized. So the network allows us to disseminate information and invitations to various events so that everyone in our network has the opportunity to participate and find a seat at the table. But they must be empowered and must have confidence and choose to sit down at those meetings. I wanted to mention as well, in connection with our global objectives, there are good, simple UnityNet values we want to continuously promote alongside humanitarian entrepreneurship. Life value peace education is what we call it. The members of our network that we're supporting are humanitarian entrepreneur members and their communities and all our relations, not the corporations or faceless entities that lack empathetic souls. I wanted to mention UnityNet discussions happen because the next generation of children are counting on us, and we do not want to deny them a fulfilling life of plenty, especially if we were to use up the earth for all for ourselves this generation instead of thinking of them in the future. This is really what we are trying to do. I wanted to mention as well Energon University's Sustainable Planet platform, which is under development. So Sustainable Planet intends to teach values along with academics, skills, and collaboration, empowering the young people to change the world through love and compassion. Those practical skills in regenerative design. Importantly, through the Global Unity Network, we are building what is the backbone of the Energon Global Cooperation Turtle Island, the original partnership between We the World, Energon University, and Global Cooperation Day. We're doing with Energon University in particular, and will be taught through the learning programs delivered through the Global Unity Network, those Unity Gardens, the concepts of regenerative design, as a professional principle. This means applied life value peace education, which above all else is a compassionate philosophy and matters as much, if not more, than the technical skills. So really this is about changing the very system of education, because when we teach values alongside academics, we find that children and adults will be much happier, more successful, and develop into great leaders. That will change the future of the world for the better if we can just find ways to bring out the unique talents and potential of each and every child while empowering them to become vehicles of love, because love will always conquer hate. So this now is the end of my presentation. I just put some information into the chat, and I finish up noting that our primary tool is Partnership for Goals, SDG 17. We are where we are teaching lessons learned through the delivery of an embedded understanding of Ubuntu, shown to our youth by our own example, where we're delivering learning by using the tools of mentorship and humanitarian entrepreneurship. So the global collaboration of people who are dedicated to deploying the local solutions for achieving what I called now the compassionate, collaborative, regenerative economy that leaves no one behind. So we have a big mandate for a better future by mentoring the next generation of youth leaders. The IGU Summit opening screen was shown there. This ends my presentation. I would like to ask everyone to please put their contact information into the chat if they haven't done so that others on the call will have your contact info, especially if you're new to the IGU Summit events and the Global Unity Network. Include your name, organization, contact information, and email, WhatsApp, social media, websites. And I want to now bring on our guests. We now have Regan Michael Cairo from UnityNet Tanzania. Sorry, that was last week. We have two guest speakers today coming on our call. I can end the presentation now and open it up to have our guest speakers come on. Apologies. Our guest speaker, the first one today.
Please, Lloyd, I like to end the recording when you get through with your presentations and then begin again. Are you through?
Okay. Please go ahead. I have unshared my screen. So our first guest speaker today is...
Just a moment, please.
Mm-hmm.